Hey friends, welcome to week 4-ish of quarantine, for me at least, because I live in a city that took COVID-19 seriously back when it was just a little baby epidemic. And before that I was quarantining anyway because, well, it's just my natural lifestyle, and I'll thank you to stop judging me. This week's big COVID-19 news is that the CDC is thinking of changing their messaging from "don't buy masks, you don't need them" to "oh, actually, everyone should be wearing masks." I saw this over on Reddit's r/coronavirus, which is where I get all of my pandemic-related news. That's a joke. Don't use Reddit as your only news service. The inhabitants there are not pleased, saying things like this is plainly criminal behavior, 475 upvotes for that the CDC misled the public, 842 upvotes, and that the CDC lied about the effectiveness of masks simply because they did not have enough for general public, 400 upvotes for that one. Look, these are tough times for everybody, and I, too, have a lot of frustration about the way various world governments, especially the United States, have completely bungled this. Like I said in my last video about N95 masks, the reason why there is a shortage is because our government failed to listen to epidemiologists who warned them that this was going to happen. Not only did they fail to stock up on masks ahead of time, but Trump cut the council in charge of pandemics in half. So can we blame the CDC? I mean, obviously, there's plenty of interconnectedness here, and there's plenty of blame for fuck-ups to go around. But as I said in that other video, Trump specifically rearranged things so that the CDC was no longer in charge of our country's emergency stash of masks and other medical equipment. They used to be, but back in 2018, Trump put all of that under the purview of the Assistant Secretary of Preparedness and Response at the Department of Health and Human Services. So, did the CDC lie to the public in order to stop people from hoarding those masks? There is absolutely no evidence for that, and plenty of evidence against it that I can see. As I stated before, average consumers simply can't hoard so many masks that they would make a dent in the hospital's stash. That problem comes from the suppliers. They need to produce more masks because our hospitals are going through them so quickly. Second of all, the advice is still, you probably don't need N95 masks. As I've said repeatedly in pretty much every video about this topic, N95 masks are great if you are in close contact with a sick person who's spraying you with mucus. For everyone else, just stay home. Avoid crowds. Avoid enclosed spaces. Order your groceries to be picked up or delivered. Stay home and read your Bible instead of going to church. Want to go for a walk and you're scared somebody's going to breathe on you? An N95 is overkill in that situation. A fabric mask is probably going to protect you about as well. If the CDC didn't want to run on N95 masks, they could have just told the public, hey, leave those for the medical professionals. We recommend everyone else wear a fabric mask. The primary mode of transmission, as best as scientists can tell right now, is touching objects that have the virus on it and then touching your face, or being in close contact with someone to the point that the droplets that contain the virus can actually blast into your face. The original advice still stands. Avoid people, wash your hands. And if you absolutely cannot avoid people, then yes, a mask might help reduce the spread so long as you use it properly. What does use it properly mean? Well, the better the fit, the better it works. The better the seal around your nose and mouth, the better it is. A good mask should not have gaps around your nose and mouth, and the thicker the material, the less shit can get through it. You can make a fabric mask out of a t-shirt or a bandana if you want. I've included links below to tutorials if you really want to do that. Once the mask is on your face, don't touch it. The point is that the mask stops these viral globules, which means that if it's working, then the outside is going to be covered in death. Don't wear it for more than a few hours. And when you're done, remove it without touching the outside and wash your hands afterwards to be safe. Wash it before you wear it again. And don't let the mask give you a false sense of security. A flimsy physical barrier provides some protection, but not 100%. That means that you as an individual might still get sick. But if everyone's wearing a mask, then the result could be pretty dramatic. You're still absolutely better off sheltering in place, avoiding people, and washing your hands, though. That is 100% guaranteed to stop you from getting the virus. Okay, so if I don't believe that the CDC was purposely lying to us to stop a run on masks, why are they only just now thinking of changing their messaging? Simple, because now we have more data on a complicated subject. This is how science works. This pandemic moved very quickly. Yes, there's much more our government could have and should have done to prepare, and more that they should still be currently doing. But scientists have been working as quickly as they can from the very beginning to separate fact from fiction, figuring out how this particular virus spreads and how we can best protect ourselves. And they have been doing it all with seriously incomplete data, thanks to our shitty governments. China tried to cover things up at the beginning. The United States isn't testing the number of people that we need to test. All of that led to scientists missing a lot of key data, including the fact that a huge number of carriers are asymptomatic, meaning they have no symptoms and don't even realize that they have this virus. If symptoms show up early in a disease's lifespan, then people who are feeling ill can immediately self-isolate and other people can avoid them, and that reduces the chance of spread. But if people have no idea they're sick and they're just wandering around because their government hasn't told their employers that they have to keep them at home, well, that changes things. Now, people who aren't feeling sick and don't know anyone who's feeling sick, and have to go to work because they're not sick, they might be out there spreading the disease. So if everyone was wearing some type of mask with some type of protection, regardless of whether or not you feel sick, then now we have a chance to reduce the spread of the virus. Of course, you can also reduce the spread by doing what scientists originally said, and which they still say is the best thing to do, which is to stay home. I know it feels silly to stay cooped up at home when you aren't sick. That's the point. In a pandemic, doing the right thing is going to feel like an overreaction. If you do the wrong thing, you're going to look back and regret that you didn't do enough.